Hello, Undisputed listeners. This is Skip Bayless. Weekdays on Undisputed, I debate my co-host Shannon Sharpe on the biggest sports news of the day. But now it is time for me to unleash in a brand new way. Introducing the Skip Bayless Show. My opportunity to share behind-the-scenes stories about things I've seen and confrontations I've had from decades covering the NFL and NBA. This is an opportunity to go so much deeper into solo opinions that just don't fit in rapid-fire debate. I will respond to your no-holds-barred questions. You can ask me anything about why I've said what I've said, or about what goes on off-camera on Undisputed. Your question should be as provocative as you want. My answer sure will be. New episodes of The Skip Bayless Show will come out each week. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so Skip, Shannon, let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Alex Curry here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning, guys. How we doing today?
You know, Shannon Sharpe, I have taken a lot of crap on this show over the last 3 days thanks to my stinking Dallas Cowboys, but I cannot wait today to hear how you tried to defend your Los Angeles Fakers, because at least my Cowboys made the playoffs.
You know what, Skip Bayless? I can't defend. How do you defend the indefensible? And the problem is, Skip, is that we know what the people that in charge should have known. It wasn't going to work.
And by the way, you can't defend because they won't defend on the court. They play no defense.
That's awful. That was awful last night.
All right, well, let's get started with the Lakers because they gave up a 15-point lead in a 111-104 loss to the Pacers last night. LeBron had 30 points, and Russ had another poor shooting night before watching the end of the game on the bench. But all eyeballs are on Frank Vogel amid reports that his status as coach is game to game. With the loss, the Lakers fell back under 500 with a 22-23 record. Shannon, do you think Vogel will be fired? And if so, how quickly?
Skip, I do not see him surviving this road trip. And when we're going to talk about it, if what Dave McMenamin is reporting, they waited probably 35 games too long to give him that kind of power in order for him to do what he needed to do, what he thought would help the team win a ball game. And so that being said, you cannot have a 15-point lead against the Indiana Pacers, who does not have a superstar. Now, I do like Sabonis, Skip, because the guy can do it all. He's as skilled as his father. And I know a lot of people out there don't remember his father. And they do remember him. He had bad knees when he was in Portland. But I remember when he played for the team, the unified team. And he was as skilled a passer, shooter, big man as we have ever seen. So his son can really play, DeMontis, can really play the game of basketball. Karis LeVert can heat up and get cooking as hot as anyone. And so for me, Skip, given that, you cannot have a 15-point lead in your building with LeBron James, with Russell Westbrook, and give that lead up. And we've seen as a reoccurring theme, Skip, we've seen this team have double-digit leads at different points of the game only to lose said games. I don't really know you can't put your finger on it. I thought LeBron played okay. I thought he played a sensational first half, but Skip, he's having to expend so much energy in order to keep the team in the ball game or to keep the team close come fourth quarter. He's worn down because no one else is giving him any help. Now, I do like Horton Tucker played really well last night, Skip. But, Skip, they don't play any defense. Karis LeVert almost outscored the entire Laker team last night in the fourth quarter. He had 22 points. They had 24 points. Skip, you see a guy get going like that. Don't you want to get the ball out of his hands? Wouldn't you double him and say, you know what? I'm going to make Holiday. I'm going to make Duarte. I'm going to make someone other than Karis LeVert beat me. He has it going. Skip, the guy was 9 of 10 in the fourth quarter. He was perfect from the three-point line. And then Russ is not the only one that's not really playing any defense, Skip. I don't know what the hell Carmelo Anthony's doing. Skip, first of all, he half-assed it on a court pass to the backcourt. LeVert zooms past him. He fouls him and one, throws the ball into the retain, and gets a tech. So that's a 4-point play. They put him in the pick and roll on 5 consecutive possessions. He blew a defensive assignment, and all he does is, my bad. My bad. No! Mm-hmm. Your bad is going to unfortunately cost Frank Vogel his job. And then what? Because all I hear is you guys come out there and after film session says, we just got to do it. We got to do it. But when are you going to do it? Skip, I just don't see, given what they got. Now, they'll probably beat the Magic, but you know what? The Magic can take it down. It's going to be a very close ball game, under 3 minutes left in the ball game. And then you got Miami, and then you got what you have on the East Coast, Skip. I just don't see how he survives it. And I just believe the front office waited a little bit too long to empower Frank Vogel to do what he needed to do last night, which was sit Russell the last 4 minutes of the ball game and sat him for a long stretch, Skip, in the first half. If you remember, from about a minute maybe to go in the first quarter all the way till about 5-6 minutes to go in the second quarter, Russ was on the bench. But I think it's a little bit too little too late, and I just don't see how he survives, Skip. Skip, this is a, 6-7 game road trip? It's the Grammy trip. Unfortunately, the Grammys got canceled, rescheduled for April in Vegas. But, Skip, I just don't see how he survives it. I really don't.
Not only do I think he won't survive the road trip, Shannon, I won't be surprised if he doesn't survive today, just today.
Okay.
I believe he could be gone by this afternoon because I keep saying the Lakers hit bottom, or as I now call them, the fakers. They really hit bottom last night because I want to put this in perspective. They were up 15 points late in the first quarter. They were actually up 14 points midway through the second quarter on an Indiana team that came into this game with the worst road record in the NBA, 3-17. An Indiana team that for the last 3 weeks has been without Malcolm Brogdon. He came back and played last night on a minutes restriction. The Lakers led by 4 going to the fourth quarter, and Malcolm Brogdon could not play a single minute of the fourth quarter, and you still lost the fourth quarter 35-24. The Pacers last night were without Miles Turner. They were obviously without T.J. McConnell and T.J. Warren. They were coming into this game 15-29, just to drive home how bad they have been. They are the third worst team in the Eastern Conference. And you got blown off the floor in the fourth quarter. I'm going to give you Karis LeVert. He broke the Indiana fourth quarter scoring record once set by the great Reggie Miller because Karis had 22 to the 21 that was the record. So I'm going to give you that. And LeBron said after the game, well, it's simple to him. One man exploded their game plan. But it's not so simple to me because I look back at what's been happening. The Lakers have lost 4 of 5, and the one that they won, I told you the other night, was a complete fluke, a complete aberration, because the one game that they won was over Utah. And it's like, happy days are here again. We finally beat a legitimate team. No, you did not beat a legitimate team. Utah is no longer legitimate. Utah is going Arizona Cardinals, falling on their face at this point because Utah has now lost 6 of its last 7 games, including last night at home to the worst team in the Western Conference, the Houston Rockets, beat Utah at Utah by 5 points. Against the Lakers at the Crypt, Utah shot 26% from 3, but even worse, I told you the other day that if you look at their biggest guns, the three-point shooters were Donovan Mitchell went 0 for 8, Jordan Clarkson went 0 for 6, Bogdanovich went 0 for 4, and Rudy Gay, my old friend from the Spurs, shot 1 of 8. That means those four big guns combined to shoot 1 of 26 from 3. In the fourth quarter, those guys combined to not make a single three. What do you think's going to happen? You're going to lose by 5 to the Fakers, and that's what happened because 1 of 26, that's 3.8%. Well, yeah, if you happen to catch Utah crumbling, reeling, falling on its face, and those four shooters combined for 1 of 26, yeah, you're going to be able to beat Utah at home, and that's no achievement. That's no accomplishment, and that should not have, quote-unquote, saved Frankie V's job. So, again, you mentioned Dave McMenamin's report in ESPN. He says that Vogel has been empowered over the last 2 weeks to do whatever he needs to do with Russell Westbrook. Well, last night he did bench him for the last, whatever it was, 3:54 of the game.
3:52, I think.
But the point was, 52. But I told you the other night, I think I was the only one that noticed, Russ only played 3 minutes and 24 seconds of the fourth quarter against Utah. I told you Austin Reeves, the undrafted rookie out of Oklahoma, played 9 fourth-quarter minutes against Utah, while Russ was basically out of the picture, out of harm's way. So to Russ's credit, he only had 1 turnover last night, but the other reason that they yanked him was he missed 12 more shots. 12 more shots, 5 of 17. So he's now plummeted to only 43% from the floor this year. He's your starting point guard. That ranks 87th of 123. But now his three-point shooting, he actually made a few last night. He's shooting 30%, which ranks 148 of 154 qualified shooters. His free throw shooting ranks 99th of 100 qualified shooters. Well, it's just liability, because he's still, even though he's cut back his turnovers, he still leads the league in turnovers. And believe it or not, he still leads the league in minutes played. So the point that McMenamin made last night was the main reason he got yanked was defense or lack thereof. And yet, I'm going to show you a sequence, Shannon, of what happened. It was with 7:13 left. Russ let Karis LeVert just drive right by him for a right-handed layup. It looked like a pregame layup. But then see what happens after this play. Like, Russ doesn't even try to guard him. And the scouting report said, don't let him get to his right. Well, not only let him get to the right, he just let him lay it up off the glass. So here come the Fakers back down the court. And all of a sudden, they're down, as you can see, 93-87. And LeBron drives it and tries to do the same thing. He gets no foul call. I don't think he deserved one. And they get a run out, and Jeremy Lamb scores. And all of a sudden, you're down 8, and Frankie V's going timeout. Well, that was the ball game. I just showed you the ball game. You were down only 4 when Karis LeVert just goes right by Russ. And again, according to the ESPN report, that was the last straw. He wasn't yanked immediately, but the defense was the problem. Well, it's a huge problem for the whole team because it's quitting on defense because LeBron plays no defense. He now ranks 207th in the NBA in defensive win shares, and they have plummeted to number 1 in defensive efficiency last year to middle of the pack. They're 15th now. They've been as low as 17th. So, again, it feels like they're quitting on Frankie V, like they need a new voice. Maybe it's Fizdale just taking over for a while just to see what happens. I just don't see how he can survive this because for the Los Angeles Lakers, this is all-time pathetic.
It is, Skip. But, Skip, what I don't understand is they talk about this game plan. Skip, when have they carried out any defense? I mean, you watch the game against Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox is a left-handed player. Do not let a player get to his dominant hand. How many layups did we see De'Aaron Fox lay up with his left hand? How many times have we seen guys that average 8 points a game go get 25 against the Lakers? What did they say in Sacramento? Skip, we knew we could get whatever we want. We just had to put the ball in the basket.
That's what they said. We could get whatever
Indiana,
we want. Yeah.
down 15. They're like, guys, we're 15? Just missing shots. It's not like they're defending us. We're just missing shots. If we hit a few shots because they're not stopping us, we're getting whatever we want, whenever we want. We just got to put the ball in the hoop. So, Skip, for me, I don't understand what they thought they were getting with Russ. Russ was never thought of as a guy that was a defender. Russ plays one style. I don't want to put all of this on Russ because, first of all, they should have never put Russ in this situation. Russ should have never been on the Lakers. Whomever, Skip, you know how you write a letter to whomever it concerns. Whomever thought that Russell Westbrook on the Lakers could help you win a championship, you are delusional. To whom it may concern. Russ can play one style. Russ looked good from a distance. Once you get up close to him and you see all the imperfections that he has in his game, there is a reason why he has not come close to getting back to a championship game since Kevin Durant left. He's been with some other great players. It's not like, if I'm not mistaken, Skip, is James Harden on the 75th anniversary team? He is. Has he been an all-NBA player? He has. Has he won the MVP? He has. So for me, don't make it seem like, oh, Russ just played with bums. No, he has not. And plus, he had Kevin Durant in his prime. That should tell you something. Skip, they don't play any defense. And what happened last night, they hit a couple of threes early. Skip, you mentioned Russ made 4 of 6 threes. That wasn't his problem. He was 1 for 11 inside the arc. That was the problem. You're right. He made 4 of 6 from the three-point line. He was 5 of 17. That means he was 1 for 11 inside the arc. Skip, they play no defense. And when you're making shots, you don't have to play defense because they'll miss shots. Indiana was missing shots, and they raced out to a 10, 12, 15-point lead. But what happens when the other team starts making shots and you're not playing defense? A 15-point lead will vanish just like that. And that's what happened last night. I believe it's a little bit too late for Frankie V to save his job. I hate it because this team was poorly assembled and the guys are doing what they always done at other teams. Carmelo Anthony has never played defense. Russell Westbrook has never played defense. Avery Bradley is long in the tooth. He can play defense here and there. Trevor Ariza, he cannot. He's Skip. He's stiff. He's old. Trevor Ariza's been in the league 16, 17 years. And you're asking him to be like he was in year 10. And he can't. I don't really know what else. I don't really what they expected Frankie V to do. I just want to know. I just want to see the coach that could have gotten this team, considering the way they play defense, considering the lack of defense that they play. Because to say they play defense would assume a lot. And I'm not willing to assume that. Considering the lack of defense that they play, Skip, I want to see the coach that could coach this team. I'm not saying get a new coach and have a new roster next year because that's unfair to Frankie V. Coach this team as it's assembled and to get them to be better than what they are right now.
Okay, back to your letter to whom it may concern. Well, shouldn't that letter be addressed to Mr. LeBron James? Because wasn't it his idea to add Russ to the equation? You pushed for Buddy Hield. I thought that would be a great idea. Yeah. LeBron bears much of the responsibility and the burden and the blame for acquiring Russell Westbrook.
Hell, I push for high heels. I push for anything other than Russell Westbrook. Skip, I said it. Even when it was broached, Skip, you and I both thought it was pie in the sky. I was like, but if there's any validity to this, please make it disappear. Please let it dissipate. Russell Westbrook, the only time Russ needs to be in the Staples, now the Crypt.com arena, is as a visiting player. Do not, I heard not one player, one person that do what we do, whether they debate, whether it's NBA analysts, and there are some great ones, thought that this would work. How in the hell can, and some of these guys have been in front offices, been responsible for putting teams together, said, no. He can only play one style. One style, that's it. And considering that you got Anthony Davis and considering that you have LeBron James, I don't see how it works. They said, I don't see how it works. I don't see it. Oh, we're going to show you. Okay, I'm still waiting. Now, they said, look, we haven't had our roster together. I guess they're waiting on AD to come back. I've seen enough. 43, 44 games into the season. If somebody thinks you're something else other than what you've displayed over 44 games, they're fooling themselves. They're delusional.
Agreed. So before we leave our friend Westbrook behind, let's take a quick look at our our daily feature we have on this show, our Westbrook. It's usually turnover blooper reel. This is a wild miss blooper reel. Could we please see his 12 misses? Bang, bang, bang. Thank you for the clown music. And here we go. Russ? No. Russ, please. Please. Easy, easy. Air ball. That hit nothing but glass. What? What was that? Russ? He hit the bottom of the rim, I think, with that shot. Russ. Easy. Whoops. They didn't have a chance. He was pretty hot from three, but not there.
He was.
Yep. How many wild drive misses have we seen? He's got the worst hands of any point guard I've ever seen, and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Easy, Russ. That's a pretty easy shot, and he missed it wide right. He's just a sorry shooter. And swooped to the hoop, and that almost airballed across the whole rim. How many of those do we have to watch? How many does Frankie V have to watch before he says enough? Russ?
And he almost...
Yep. Think he lost any sleep last night? I don't.
But guess what, Skip? It's bigger than basketball. It always has been bigger than basketball for me. Well, I hope that soon you get an opportunity to have something bigger than basketball on a different team than the Lakers. Because that right there won't cut it. You're right. The sun, as I'm looking out through my window, the sun is shining, Skip. The sun is rising today in the West. So everything is going to be all right in Russell Westbrook's world. Because remember, Skip, hey, I sleep good. Sun's going to come up tomorrow. I got my family. I got all that. That sounds well and good. Bruh, I'm trying to win a championship. And I just don't see how that... if I'm a player on that team, and I just don't see how. I don't see how anybody can win a championship with him.
Okay, and last quick point, I'm not going to let your man LeBron off the video hook here because the all-time pathetic close to this game was LeBron James at the end of the game. They're down 9. He's still in the game. He's trying to get his 30 points, and here's LeBron at the end of the game. He's still in, down 9, and he drives, and they just let him have like a pregame style or an all-star game style layup. That's the last shot of the game to get him barely to 30 points. That barely got him to 30 points. And he now leads the league in 30-point games in losses with 10. Trae Young is next with 7. So LeBron is leading the league in a dubious category. Congratulations, Shannon, on your fakers.
Skip, we've seen LeBron, and I don't think LeBron played I thought he played unbelievable the first half. I was hoping he can keep it going, but you're asking a guy in his 19th season, 37 years of age, to expend that kind of energy. Because a lot of it was Skip last night. He was driving to the basket. If you look at Skip the first half, he's driving to the basket. He's laying it up with either hand. He's dunking the basketball. But at some point in time, Skip, I don't care how great a fantastic shape you're in. That catches up with you in the ball game. And so in the third quarter, he's trying to get everybody else involved. Hey, guys, y'all do some of this heavy lifting. Let me save some of this energy for the trip home in the fourth quarter. But no, he just can't. And last night was not an efficient ball game. Skip, they only had, 11 turnovers. They only turned the ball over 11 times. LeBron led the way with 3. I think somebody had 2, which is not bad. Skip, that's not a bad turnover. 11 turnovers, you can live with that. But what you can't live with is to get out-rebounded by 14 in the fourth quarter, allow a team to shoot 58% in the fourth quarter, allow a team to shoot 46% from the 3 in the fourth quarter while you shoot 13. Well, if you give up double, if you get out-rebounded by double and you shoot 13% from the 3, they shoot 46% from the 3, they shoot 58% from the floor, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? In layup, Skip is like, first of all, Karis LeVert was shooting practice 3, Skip. There was nobody around him. Not even close. And then the layups, he was just a layup, like you said, a layup.
No mercy. Mike McCarthy isn't worried one bit about his job security in Dallas, even after an early playoff exit. In a media availability yesterday, the Cowboys coach felt confident about his future with the team and went as far as to say, "I know how to win." Shannon, what do you make of these remarks?
Much to Skip Bayless' chagrin, Mike McCarthy is going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next season in 2022. Skip Bayless, the guy that you see with the game plan folded up, got his arms folded up, looking at the Jumbotron like everybody else. Skip, I told you, it's entertainment. Even the head coach is not watching the game from the field. He's looking up at the Jumbotron. That's going to be your coach next season. You know why? Because Jerry, what'd you call it? What's his name, Skip? Gerald Wayne Jones, a.k.a. Jerry Jones Jr. Handpicked him. Invited a man to stay at his big old mansion. They had beer and nachos. It went so well. Gerald Wayne Jr. the third, I guess, Jerry Jr.'s son, said, "Dad, what the hell are you waiting on? You like him. He's everything that you want in a head coach. Just sign the man." And that's what happened. So he's Jerry handpicked guy. Skip, he's not going to challenge Jerry on anything. He's never going to say, "Well, Jerry, I think we should do this instead of that. I think we should do that instead of this." He has no say. He's head coach and title only. He has no say over the final 53. He has no say in the draft. He has no say in free agency. So the practice schedule, what? He sets the practice schedule, but if Jerry says, "No, I think we should practice at 1:15 instead of 2:15, what time do you think they're going to practice, Skip? So for me, unfortunately for you, this is what you have to look forward to next year. And I got a quote, Skip. Jerry Jones says, "He's a difference maker, and that should be recognized." Did he not say that? You lost your mind when he said that. You like, Jerry, what are you doing? He's not a difference maker. He's not to be recognized. He's costing us. And we talked about this. And everybody said, "Oh, no, they'll get that fixed." Shannon, it's only the second week of the season. What are you talking about? That's what you do. You work out the kinks, the bugs, and everything. Okay, that kinks and the bugs that you had early in the season, guess what? It reared its head in a playoff game and possibly cost you an opportunity to advance. So, Skip Bayless, Mike McCarthy is going to be your head coach. And he said, he listed the thing. "Skip, I know how to win playoff games. I've won a championship." You did. Technically, Skip, theoretically, he's correct. But he did benefit from a quarterback that's on the 100th anniversary team. And I don't know what anniversary team is coming out next, but he's going to have another quarterback that played the lion's share of his career under Mike McCarthy on that team. So until you do it without those two generational Hall of Fame great quarterbacks, you're going to leave people to question, how good a head coach is Mike McCarthy? And I think my good friend Skip Bayless is starting to question that already.
Your good friend Skip Bayless has already called for this man's job. Your sort of good friend Skip Bayless, after this week, after you've shamed me for all these days, hit bottom yesterday as a fan. And I realized that you are just rooting for Mike McCarthy to be back because you know it will go from bad to worse next year. Because you know he got exposed this year. He's a fraud. He's an imposter. He's nothing but a bystander. He's a spectator during games. He adds little to nothing to the final product that should be a Cowboy team advancing to play GOAT at GOAT this Sunday, and unfortunately that did not happen. And this man, Mike McCarthy, was reduced yesterday to pathetically having to defend himself after they did win the division, or maybe you say they just won it by default. But he was reduced to defending himself by saying, "I know how to win. I know how to win playoff games. I know how to win championships." And Shannon, as soon as I read these quotes last night, it hit me right between the eyes. Could you ever have imagined Thomas Wade Landry, ever having to say that to the media? "I know how to win." We just knew you knew how to win because you won. Can you imagine the great Jimmy Johnson ever being reduced to telling the Dallas-Fort Worth media, "I know how to win"? Yeah, do you ever? And I'm not sure Mike McCarthy ever knew how to win, because it has now come painfully clear to me he was nothing but a product of first Brett Favre and then more so Aaron Rodgers. And Mike came with a playoff record when he came to Dallas of 18-10. That's pretty good. My man Jason Garrett left 2-3 in the playoffs. I had 10 years of 8-8, 8-8, 8-8. Jason was 2-3 in the postseason. So obviously, if you tell me I have a man who's 18-10 in the postseason, a made man with a Super Bowl ring on his finger, I'm happy days are here again. I'm hallelujah, thank you God for Mike McCarthy. That's why I blessed him. That's why I jumped in on Undisputed with both feet on Mike McCarthy, because I got blinded by the Super Bowl ring. He's a made man because he was made by Brett Favre and made even more so by Aaron Rodgers. And Shannon, the evidence screams, fire him, and fire him again. Because I look at what happened this year. They jump out to a 6-1 record, 6-1. Their most impressive game of the year was the opening Thursday night at GOAT, at Tampa Bay. Dak was great, but he had played no snaps in the preseason, hadn't even played in a preseason scrimmage. There was no pressure, no expectation, and he threw for 403, and they took it to the wire at Tampa. And then they took their coach off the game-managing, clock-managing hook at Chargers because he completely botched it. As usual, he was overmatched, he was overwhelmed, and it took a 56-yard field goal to save the season and save him from utter humiliation and media annihilation after that game. And yet, they get to play Philly. They get to play the Giants. They got to play Carolina, who got exposed later in the season. That was Sam Darnold's Carolina. And they got to 6-1. Then what happened down the stretch? They closed 6-5. And what happened against your Denver Broncos at home? They fell behind 30-0 before losing 30-16. 30-0 early in the fourth quarter. What happened against the Raiders on Thanksgiving? Probably my greatest humiliation of the year was Raiders on Turkey Day at Jerry World on the biggest stage in the sport this side of the Super Bowl. And my team fell behind to the Raiders 17-6 and 24-13 before rallying, taking it to overtime, and, of course, losing the game. What happened against Arizona? What happened? They fall behind 10-0 and then 22-7 entering the fourth quarter. Then, of course, they make it close, but no cigar. And then what happened against the San Francisco 49ers? Well, they fall behind 7-0, 10-0, 13-0, and 23-7 going to the fourth quarter. And then they come back and nearly steal it with a miraculous finish to the game. Well, what does that scream to you? No. Fire. You've got a Dan Quinn who turned around the defensive side of the ball spectacularly.
He did.
A guy who was a head coach in Atlanta, who's probably the number one candidate on everybody's list around the league. He got the Atlanta Falcons to a 28-3 lead over GOAT and Belichick before blowing that, but he did get them that far. He brought energy, he brought life, he brought inspiration to the sideline the night Mike McCarthy had COVID and had to stay back in Dallas. And you're going to lose him. He's going to be able to pick his job. Whatever the best job is, he'll be able to pick it. Why wouldn't you just elevate him, Jerry, as you're about to turn 80 years of age this coming fall on October 13th? Your window is closing. Why wouldn't you just elevate him and take a shot? Because Mike McCarthy got exposed. And then yesterday, Shannon, the other thing he brings up is he said, I thought we were nervous before the game during the pregame prayer. Well, I don't know. Do all the players, I don't know.
What?
As a group, do they have a pregame prayer? I don't even know what he's talking about. I didn't think you could have a group pregame prayer, right? But we
normally did, Skip.
Go ahead.
You do. You normally do some, Skip. Sometimes we have a team prayer, and then sometimes guys would have a prayer in the shower. So a lot of times you had two prayers, but we did come together right before the game and say the Our Father's prayer before, or have a chaplain lead prayer before we hit the field. Okay, good, got it, love it. But my point is, then he was asked a follow-up question about,
really? After you won the division and then you're going to play the 49ers, you were nervous? And he said, well, let me take back the word nervous. He said, really, it was just a couple of guys I thought were nervous. A couple of guys?
Huh?
And that's, and he's trying to make another excuse like, don't blame me because a couple of my guys were nervous. Well, look what your nervous team did. He said, we settled down and we held them to field goals. Well, Shannon, I just need to reiterate, just to get it out of my system a little bit. It's almost like I'm regurgitating this. Like I got to throw it up to get it out of my system. But look what the 49ers did. McCarthy wins the toss, and he says, let's defer. That's the smart way to do it. No, it's not. You take it and you go score on them. They have a devastating run game. Take it away from them. Make them play from behind. No, let's kick it to them. We'll stop them. Guess what? The 49ers make 5 first downs, only once went to second down on the opening 75-yard drive, and go score in 7 plays. 5 first downs, and only goes to second down 1 time, no third downs, score, and it's 7-0. Congratulations, Mike Mack. And then here we go. Cowboys go 3 and out, and it takes San Francisco 9 plays to make it 10-0. Then we go 5 and out on offense, and it takes them 12 plays to go up 13-0 early in the second quarter. They weren't ready to play. They were not ready to play against Denver or the Raiders or the Cardinals or the 49ers. It screams lack of motivation. What did we see in Hard Knocks? We saw the most pathetic, lame, cliched, embarrassing attempts at motivational speeches from Mike McCarthy. He got exposed by Hard Knocks. And then he tried to boast about his motivational tactics, the one that he used last year up in Minneapolis. He flew in watermelons so that they could take sledgehammers to watermelons the night before the game in the team meeting to get everybody jacked up. That's just silliness to me, and I don't think it had anything to do. I think the players were laughing at him. I think it had zero to do with the game that they stole with Andy Dalton at quarterback at Minneapolis. Then this year, they lose to Denver 30-0. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask you, Skip, even if that was the case, let's just say for the sake of argument, what Mike McCarthy is saying is true, that his guys were nervous. Why would you make that public?
After the fact,
why would they be nervous? I'm Skip. I'm the 3 seed. I got the 6 seed coming to my building. You talked about this home field and how your fans and Jerry wanted to open up the occupancy to all the standing rooms so he'd have over 100,000. What? Skip, you should have known something. The Arizona game, Skip, he wins the Arizona game. He's the 2 seed. Philadelphia now got to come see you. Now you miss San Francisco. San Francisco got to go deal with Tampa. You've already hung 40 on them. You've hung 51 on them. So you feel pretty comfortable, Skip, playing Philadelphia, a team that we've played before, a team that we've dominated this year on both sides of the football. But no, lo and behold, you lay an egg. You don't come prepared. You come staggering out of the gate, and the next thing you know, they're in front of you, and you're playing catch up. So for me, I agree. Look, Skip, I agree with you. I didn't think he deserved the job anyway. I voiced that to you, said, Skip, I don't think he's the right guy for this job, but Jerry wanted him. And Skip, if Jerry were to fire him now, Jerry would have to admit, I made a mistake in hiring him. Does Jerry Jones strike you as a guy that likes to admit mistakes?
No, he does not. I agree. And usually he stays the course. He prides himself on don't overreact to media pressure. I'm Jerry Jones. I've got 3 Super Bowl trophies in my office. Well, baloney. You're about to turn 80. You keep talking about your mortality. Plunge, Jerry. You used to plunge in the oil fields. And let me finish about the other motivational tactic that, as a Cowboy fan, all-time humiliated me, that they lay an egg. What if they'd beaten Denver and the Raiders at home? Could they be the 1 seed right now?
Well, you're number 1 seed. You're number 1 seed.
No, that's what I got it. I got it. So after the egg they laid, biggest this side of Jurassic Park, against your Broncos, Mike McCarthy, after they roared back and crushed the Atlanta Falcons at home, he took credit. He volunteered to the media that he used what he called monkey butt powder, and the acronym for the week was RAW, a raw week, because we had the red ass. So it's It's RAW week, and we needed monkey butt powder. He passed it out to all the players to soothe the chapped butt of all the players. Okay. Again, I don't know how you'd react if you were a Dallas Cowboy, but I think you'd be trying to stifle a laugh over that, right? Wouldn't you be embarrassed that your coach was doing this? Because it's just pure silliness. It is beneath the dignity of the coach of America's team to try to resort to that in professional football. And now to your bigger point about Jerry and that one night that he hired McCarthy, remember, he'd never met him, and I think he got blinded by the Super Bowl ring because he had him up to the mansion, Highland Park, Dallas, Texas, for a night, a dinner, meet the sons, meet the family, meet the wife, and they liked the heck out of him. And he came across not so much as a potential son, another son to Jerry, but kind of as a younger brother that he could hang with. And they had a good time talking ball, beer, nachos. It goes into the wee hours, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And to your point, Jerry Jr. finally says, Dad, what are you waiting for? Well, you just met the guy, and all you knew was he's got a Super Bowl ring, right? And what I swept under my carpet was, and I look back at it last night, look at his last 3 years in Green Bay. And remember, I don't care what you say, Aaron Rodgers' stats were plummeting. His QBR and his completion percentage were going down, down, down over those years. They finished sub 500 every year. I think he finished 13, 26, and 1. I believe that was the record over those last 3 years. And remember, he was accused of just mailing it in. Well, it feels like he came to Dallas and mailed it in because getting massages. And once upon a time, back in the day, remember, he's the head coach in Green Bay for 13 years. I used to hear back to the Favre days that he's one of the best play callers in pro football. I heard that from a lot of people around the league. This man can call a game. Well, he comes to Dallas. He doesn't call anything because Kellen Moore is like attached at the hip with Dak, and let's keep his comfort zone with Kellen Moore. And so I don't know what Mike McCarthy does except uninspire my Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how you can let Dan Quinn walk and take another job without saying, just stay here and let's try it again next year with a whole different vibe. Let's get Dan Quinn down on the sidelines with his hat on backwards, slapping everybody on the butt, bringing a little life and energy to the sidelines instead of the innocent bystander who says, "Don't look at me. Don't look at me."
Well, Skip, you remember Mike McCarthy? One of the reasons Mike McCarthy got the job is that said he had an analytics team and he broke down every single play the Cowboys had run. So he gets to the press conference and a reporter asks him, he's like, Jerry said you broke down all it. Well, that's not really true. I didn't break down all of it. Jerry should have fired him on the spot. You lied. You told me you had an analytic team and you broke down every offensive snap, every defensive snap that we had run. So now you get up here in front of these media and you lied, you're fired. It'd have been shorter than Coach Belichick's tenure at the Jets.
All right, guys, we'll get back to the Cowboys in just a bit, but let's talk some Lakers because Russell Westbrook had another bad game in last night's Lakers loss, finishing with 14 points on 5 of 17 shooting. The point guard was actually pulled from the lineup for the final 4 minutes of action, a move that sources say Frank Vogel had been given the green light by the Lakers organization to do if necessary. So, not surprisingly, Russ didn't speak to the media after the game, but he also reportedly left before the rest of his teammates were even finished getting dressed. Shannon, how will Russ respond to being benched?
Not well. The same way any other superstar, although there's level to superstardom, Russ views himself as a superstar. He has won an MVP, Skip. He has been an all-NBA player. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm correct, Skip, he's a member of the 75th anniversary team, which means of the people that's played in the NBA, he's one of the 70-time all-time greatest. And to be benched? Oh, absolutely. Hell, how would I feel if I got benched? It would hurt. And, you know, they asked Bron's like, do you think Russ is going to be upset? He posed the question back to the reporter. How do you think he's going to react? How do you think he's going to handle it? Yes, he's going to be disappointed because he did not come here to be benched. Has Russ ever been benched since he, burst on the scene at UCLA, worked his way into the starting lineup? became an NBA player, been an All-NBA MVP, All-Star Game MVP. Has he ever been benched? Normally, guys like that, Skip,
no.
I'm the reason why we win. Basically, they said the reason why we're losing is because of you. So this is what we're going to do for you. We got a role, a specific role we need you to play. And when the rubber needs to meet the role in tough defensive sequences, we don't want you anywhere near the court. Absolutely, he's hurt. I'm not surprised that he didn't talk, and he might not talk today. He might not talk until Friday. I think they played the Orlando Magic, Skip, on Friday. He might not talk. It all depends what type of game that he has and the amount of minutes that he's going to play. Unfortunately for Frank Vogel, I think, Skip, this is the last thing Frank Vogel wanted to do. Skip, Frank Vogel has been an NBA coach before. He's, if I'm not mistaken, Indiana, Orlando, and now the Lakers. So he's been a head coach. Skip, he knows how superstars are. He knows how fragile. There's a reason why NBA players do not get talked to by their head coach like NFL players do, because it's a different mentality. So, Frank, this is the last thing, Frank, because if Dave McMenamin's report is true, he is saying he had the blessing of the organization to do this up to 2 weeks ago. And he just took this on Saturday night somewhat against the Nuggets and now last night against Indiana. He knew what this was going to do. He knew Russ would not take this well. He knew this wasn't going to be well received. Russ left him no choice. He left him no choice, Skip, and that's why I couldn't be a coach. He said the scouting report said what? State of Karis LeVert dominant hand. He's a right-handed player, so his dominant hand is his right hand. Stay on that side. Do not let him get to the right side. And what does Russ do? Open the gate and let him get to his right hand and lay the ball up. So Frankie B says, well, you know what? I've seen enough. I bit my tongue. My lip is bleeding because I've bitten my lip so much. But I don't really have a choice in this matter now.
Shannon Sharpe, in all my years covering, studying, closely watching the NBA, I have never seen a more delusional superstar than Russell Westbrook. He's gotten away with this type of behavior on the floor. He's gotten away with leading the league in turnovers 4 times, finishing second 4 times, and again leading it this year in turnovers. He's gotten away with all the wild misses from 3 and also from the free throw line. He's gotten away with being a pathetic shooter and ball handler as a point guard who's a perennial all-star and a former MVP, only because 4 of the last 5 years he averaged a triple-double. It is impossibly, inhumanly great to pull that off. We never thought we'd see it, and obviously we saw it back in the day from Oscar one time, and we thought we'd never see it again, and then we saw it 4 or 5 times. And as you and I keep kicking around here, nobody could ever hold him accountable for what a liability he was while he was piling up the most impressive stats in the history of the game. In the history of the game. But along the trail, the triple-doubles did not produce winning. They only produced statting. He was, as I told you when you acquired him, he's nothing but a solo act of a stat machine. He's the all-time greatest rebounding guard, 6 feet 3 inch guard that we've ever seen.
Yeah, no question
about that. And once he figured out how to drop the ball off, he can drop the ball off for layups. Back in the day to Steven Adams in Oklahoma City, he figured out, wait, if I get to the rim because I'm so explosive athletically, and at the last second I just leave it on the floor for Steven to dunk it, I get an assist. If I get 10 a game, I average a triple-double. Well, it's easy to miss as many shots as he misses because he takes so many to average, obviously, double figures, so you're going to average triple-doubles. And he's not that far off right now. He's 19, 8, and 8, and that's like Ben Simmons sort of territory where you'd say, that's pretty good, until you look at he's one of the worst three-point shooters in the league, and he's one of the worst free throw shooters in the league, and he's your point guard. You can't win that way. You can't overcome that. It's too big of a liability. And yet, Russ thinks he's a first ballot Hall of Famer because he is. He will be. Slam dunk. And I told you the worst thing that happened to LeBron and the Lakers was that Gotham Chopra did a documentary on Russ's life and times that dropped. It premiered in L.A. just before this season started. Well, you want to talk about going to somebody's head? Russ has returned home to be the starting point guard for the team that he grew up living and dying for, the purple and gold. And a doc drops in Hollywood with a grand premiere. He invites LeBron, and LeBron went. I think Savannah went. And you want to talk about making it. And then this happened. Well, your dream became the ultimate nightmare because now on the biggest stage you've ever been on, you just got exposed. And nobody has ever held you accountable for all the bad things that you do that undercut the good things you do. And this is the first time in his life when he's being held accountable, and it's coming from the top.
Yes.
It's coming from Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka telling Frank Vogel and also probably Kurt Rambis saying, hey, do what you got to do. That's, just do it. And yet, I promise you, as we speak, if it hasn't happened already, Russ's agent is calling either Jeannie and or Pelinka to say, not on our watch. You cannot get away with this. And Russ has such a huge ego, and he can be so defiantly proud that he's going to rebel against this. I don't know. Will he boycott it? Will he not show up? This is going to get serious fast.
If I'm Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, I put my phone on airplane mode. I can't get no calls. Russ, I don't want to hear nothing Russ' agent got to say. I don't want to hear anything he has to say. We've given you 40-plus games, and I haven't seen the results that I needed to see from him. Skip, I think the thing is also with the triple-double, and teams are taking and missing more shots. So there are more opportunities for you to get rebounds. And with the floor being so spaced, you see guys that would have never, ever got a triple-double getting triple-doubles.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the same allure as it once did. So for me, and plus, like you said, because he was getting the triple-double, we didn't see that he had the 25, 12, and 13. We didn't look to the column one more. All we had to do is look one more column to the right and see 7 turnovers, see 8 turnovers.
That's right.
We stopped at the first 3 columns, points, rebounds, assists, and we didn't look any further. But we also didn't look at the guy that he was guarding. Russ had 25, but the guy he was guarding had 30. Like, hold on, bro.
True.
That's not a good trade. That's not a good trade-off. And so for me, Skip, I just don't, like I said, I just think it's a little bit too late. You know he's not going to be receptive to this. I get it. He shouldn't, because that's what makes the great players great, is that they have a determination, a belief in themselves. But I just don't really know, Skip. Even now, he's still going to have to play. So what? You think he's going to play? So now, Skip, you cut his minutes from, say, 36, 37 down to 26 or 27. Do you think those 10 minutes that he have in reserve, do you think he's going to devote that to the defensive end? Now he's going to try to get up more shots. Now, Skip, I got to get that triple-double in less time. I ain't got 37 minutes. I got 27 minutes to try to do what I do.
Okay, so what happened last night?
I don't know if that's worked.
They cut his minutes
terrible.
last night. He still got up 17 shots. Really?
Yes.
And Shannon,
so that's what I'm telling you.
They have cut his minutes. They've reduced minutes over the last 2 games, and he still leads the NBA in minutes played. But the crux of the issue right now is the golden minutes down the stretch, where he won't sit still, literally sit still for it is if you take him out in the fourth quarter. You can take him out in the second and the third, but not in the fourth quarter, or his agent's going to be on the phone. Okay, so that's where we sit right now.
But Skip, that's where the game is determined. And so, in other words, if you sit me on the bench when the game is being determined, what are you telling me, Skip? Are you telling me that I'm more of a liability than an asset in these type moments?
Yes.
Do y'all know who I am? I'm Russ. Mm-hmm. I got an MVP. I'm a 75th anniversary player. And you're telling me when the rubber needs to meet the road, I'm not one of the 5 best players on this team. That's what you told me. Man, y'all hurt me. You cut me deep with that one, Frankie B. You cut me deep with that, Rob.
Yep.
You cut me deep, Jeannie.
And Shannon, we watch the games on Sports Spectrum LA here in Southern California, the local telecast. Who has the most ads by far, the most commercials? It's Russ upon Russ upon Russ. The bank commercial is just like it played relentlessly. So he's saying, do you know who I am? You're doing this to me? No, not acceptable.
No mercy. Mike McCarthy didn't hang his head when facing reporters after the Cowboys' season-ending loss. In fact, he defended the last-second draw play. McCarthy went as far as to say it was the right call. McCarthy went on to say their threshold for calling another play is 13 seconds, so the 14 left on the clock gave them the leeway to execute the play. However, he did say that Dak could have slid earlier. Shannon, what's your reaction to what McCarthy said about the last play?
And Skip, you keep saying your Cowboys laid the biggest egg this side of Jurassic Park, so look what I got for you. I went and got a Jurassic Park egg.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Skip. I had to do it.
Thank you.
You said
lay it on me. I deserve it.
You said
beautiful.
You said your team laid the biggest egg this side of Jurassic Park. Skip.
By the way, what's coming out of that egg? What is that? What's in that egg?
It's a 12. They made 100 of these, and there's a 12-inch Dorito inside this egg. So if you open up the egg, there's a 12-inch Dorito inside this Jurassic Park eggs. Thank you, Doritos. Skip.
Okay. I thought maybe it's a
I'm trying to figure out the offensive coordinator. Skip, I'm trying to figure the offensive coordinator that calls a play that doesn't have confidence that the play is going to work. Skip, do you actually think Darrell Bevel called that play on the goal line against the New England Patriots thinking, man, this thing going to probably get intercepted, but I'm going to call it anyway? Or did he think the play was going to work? That's how offense works. You call plays that you think is going to work. Defensive coordinators, they call plays that they think is going to work against the offense, the play that the offense is going to call. That's how it works, Mike. Say, we had confidence in that play. No jive. What? So you're the only one that called plays that have confidence in said play, Skip. Skip, it was a bad decision. Now you're talking about the mistakes that were made with Dak. Well, hold on. If you practiced it, Dak should have known he can't run that far, right, Skip? They say they practiced this play now. So if you practiced this play, how far did Dak run? So what was Dak's instruction? Okay, Dak, we've got 14 seconds. You said you practiced this play with 13 seconds? Skip, I've had 4 coaches, and we practiced the play. Every time we've practiced it, the cutoff has always been 18. I've heard some people on air say they practiced with as little as 16. I've heard not one person say they practiced that play or a play to get a last play off under 16 seconds. Mike McCarthy is telling you not only is 14 plenty, we practice it with 13. Well, how far is Dak going to run? 3 yards? The only way you get in that playoff, Skip, when Dak does what he does, because you got to snap the ball. Dak's in a shotgun formation. So by the time he gets the ball, Skip, that's 1 second. He takes a step back because he got to make the defense think he's going to pass the ball. 2, by the time he gets to the line of scrimmage, that's 3. So now you're at 11 seconds. He runs 17 yards. So what did you practice? And in that situation, Skip, now you say, you know what? We're not going to be able to get a playoff. Hey, all goes. I'm going to put it up to whoever got a favorable matchup, I'm going to throw this ball. I would have rather had, from the yard line they were on, Skip, I would have rather had 2 plays from, say, 40 yards out as opposed to no plays from the 24, because that's what you got. You said, would you rather have a Hail Mary from 45 yards out or a 1 play from the 24? You didn't get the play off. What you mean? What I would have rather had? I would have rather had you had something better called than that. That's what I'd rather had. Skip, Plus, Dak has got to make it easy. They got to make it easy for the official. Don't put him in a situation that he has to jump through a line or he has to run over Dak. Because theoretically what he could have done is run around outside of Ty Smith. And then you know you're not getting a playoff, Skip. If he runs around, he's doing you a favor trying to jump through the line. The man 50 years old. And Skip Bayless wants the man to be Usain Bolt, and he wants him to be a high hurdler to jump through a hurdle. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Skip. But this was poorly executed. It was a poor call, and you got the results that I think this play can only yield a negative result.
So here we go again with please drop the mic, McCarthy. Just please drop it and shut up and go away. Please. Leave me alone. Okay. Let's break down what drop the mic McCarthy said yesterday. He says that it's a 13-second threshold, and I will agree with you. All the teams, the many teams I've covered in my lengthy career, I've heard anywhere from 18 to 16, but nothing under 16. So I'm with you on that.
No.
So he's saying their threshold is 13. 13 is really pushing it. It's got to go perfectly. It's got to be clockwork perfect to pull that off. But he's saying that 14 seconds left on the clock is a second more than their threshold, which underscores what he did say after the game. We thought we had 1 second left. Okay, he also says that his center, Tyler Biadasz, was trained to spot the ball just the way the umpire would spot the ball, but that he acknowledged the umpire then has to touch it in play. Okay.
Correct.
The problem I have with that is that once Ramon George got there, I thought he was a little late, maybe a second late to the party, but once he did get there, and once he banged into Dak and we had Keystone Cops meet Three Stooges for a second, once he got through a gate that he had to make in my line of scrimmage and got to the other side, he actually reaches and pushes the ball back about maybe a half yard. So Biadasz didn't spot the ball where the umpire thought it needed to be spotted. And remember, we are crucial here. We are 3, 2, 1 on the clock. So if I think we're about to see it right now. Here comes Mr. Ramon George, and he gets through. See, he had to move the ball back, Shannon. And that moving of the football, remember, that's a half a second right there. Well, they got it right to the wire, right to the gun, and they just missed it getting the spike down, getting the snap up and spike down. Okay, so that's my second problem with this. You were trained to spot the ball exactly where it was supposed to be. Well, A, how do you know where the umpire wants to exactly spot it? And B,
because Skip,
you didn't do it.
But here's the thing. But Skip, here's the thing. Dak went into a slide. It's not where he ends. Where does he initiate the slide? Where does he start the slide? Is where the ball is supposed to be spotted.
So how does Tyler Biadasz know while the play's unfolding? Let's see. He went into his slide exactly at the 24-yard line. Okay. Now, I must defend my Cowboys on one concept that you continue to ridicule them over. I still like the theory of the play call. I like the theory because look what the 49ers are doing. They got 6 DBs, and they're splitting them up 3 and 3 and guarding the boundaries. They're 3 deep on the sideline and 3 deep on the other sideline. They are daring you. They are leaving the middle of the field open because they don't want you to hit a 15-yard pass and step out of bounds and stop the clock. They want to dare you to try to throw it to them because maybe they'll just go pick it off and end the game right there. So I don't mind the concept of saying, take a step back like you're going to throw it and bolt up the middle. But obviously when Usain Bolt up the middle, you have to know exactly where is the clock at that point and when do I need to get down. Now, here's my final takeaway from this. This is the coup de grace from Mike McCarthy yesterday. Please drop the mic. Mike McCarthy just throws in out of nowhere, out of completely left field, and I'm going to read it right out of the story. He said he spoke to Prescott after the game, to Dak Prescott after the game, and instructed him to cut the play off at 10 yards next time instead of going 17. Well, wait a second. After the game, you adamantly dug in, Mike McCarthy, and you said we executed it perfectly. We had a second on the clock, and he blamed Ramon George, the umpire, not by name, but he said the referee screwed it up and cost us a second on the clock that we executed perfectly. He said we had it down to a science. And now you just throw in that you're actually throwing Dak under the bus because in the end, you're pointing a finger at your quarterback saying, well, the truth is I did tell him after the game, you can't run 17 yards. You needed to cut it down, take it down at 10 yards. Mike, now everything you said after the game gets completely disqualified because you, Mike McCarthy, under fire, knowing that you're on the hottest of hot seats, you're actually pointing the finger back at your quarterback. You want to talk about outrageous, out of bounds? Listen, if I'm Dak Prescott today, I am furious with that because you're trying to take yourself once again off the hook and putting Dak back on the hook for blowing the last play because you did not get down after 10 yards. Well, obviously, as it turned out, if he had gone down and gone into a slide at 10 yards, they probably would have spiked it and gotten the last throw. It would have cost them 7 yards. So it would have been, it was at the 24, it would have been at the 31. But at 31. That would be good enough. 31 yard. Okay, 31-yard throw. And again, you were about to have a 51-yard throw. And back to McCarthy's point after the game, would you rather have a 51-yard Hail Mary or all go if I send 5 verts, 5 receivers out from the 24-yard line? Well, okay, you're defending the 24-yard line on Sunday night, and now you're telling me, I would have been much better at the 31.
Skip.
What? What do you do? How does he get away with this? How does he still have a job right now? I want to know. Please tell me, Jerry. What are you doing?
Because Jerry hired him. Jerry handpicked him. So that's why you still have a job. Skip, remember I came in Monday. I say, well, Skip, if you're going to run that, have Dak pull up earlier. But he said they rehearsed it. Okay, if you rehearsed it, how far did you tell
Dak? He did it exactly right?
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know. This is a coach. He's dancing as fast as he can because he's about to dance out the door.
Skip, when we run a play, we practice the play. We don't get to ad-lib in the game. If we practice the play 12 to 14 yards, we run the play 12, 14 yards. We don't get into the game and run 16 to 18 yards because that's not what we practice. So what did you practice? Did that go rogue and go further than what you practiced? Or did he go and do exactly what you had practiced? Did he do exactly what he was instructed to do? So now what we have here, Skip, somebody is lying. Somebody did something or somebody was told to do something they shouldn't have done. Because Mike McCarthy says, I told Dak after the game, go down to 10 yards. Why are you telling that after the game? It's too late. Skip, how the hell you going to close the barn door if the cows done already got out the barn? That don't do no good. You should have done that before they got out. You should have told Dak, Skip, Dak, get 10 yards, get down, spike the ball. But if you practiced it, Skip, if you practiced it, why you need to tell me anything? I didn't need Mike to tell me, hey, Shannon, on this pivot, I need you to go 10 yards. Hell, Mike, we practiced it all week. We had it in walkthrough, so I know how deep to run the pivot. So I didn't need Mike or Coob to tell me anything about a route because we had practiced it. So why are you telling him after the game? If you practiced it, you go through the scenario, Skip.
I don't know. And then final point, I don't want to make us too late, so forgive me for this, but I got to throw this in because I meant to make the point when we talked about McCarthy earlier. He concluded the session yesterday talking about how, hey, you guys got to go easier on us because you have to remember we have kids. You got to take it easy. We have kids. What? He was the head coach in Green Bay for 13 years. You're as public a figure. You are the head coach of America's team. You took the job. Yeah. Does it put your family in harm's way as far as taking credit? I'm sorry. It goes with the territory, Mike. You're going to get no sympathy from me for sure. Oh, stop it.
Skip, ain't nobody talking about his kid. Ain't nobody.
Yeah, he's talking about when they go to school, they're going to hear it from their friends. Okay. That's your fault. That's on you. I mean, you're the one who screwed it up.
Yeah, that's what, Skip, that's what happens. That's what happens when players have kids and the parent doesn't play well, and the dad doesn't play well. I'm sure some kids, your dad sucks. Your dad cost us the game. Skip, that happens.
No mercy. Saturday, the NFC Divisional Playoff presented by Intuit TurboTax Live is on Fox as Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers head to Lambeau to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. It all starts at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Now, after hitting and elbowing a Bucs defensive back, Andrew Adams, in Tampa's wildcard win last weekend, Bruce Arians found himself fined for $50,000 by the NFL. And when asked about the incident, Arians said he had no regrets and plans to appeal the fine. Shannon, what is your reaction to this?
He deserved the fine. I believe he got off easy. If it wasn't a playoff, Skip, I wouldn't be disappointed if they suspended him for a game, because we want to send a clear message to make it crystal clear that this is unacceptable. And I get BA didn't want his guy to get a penalty, but you can't slap the guy upside the head. Skip, sometimes, we're having a good time. We hitting the guy. Yeah, boy, that's the way you make a play. Skip, you see that all the time. But not from a head coach. And he didn't do it. He did it in a manner that was disrespectful. And he lucky. I get the guys on his probably been around the league a lot. And, he's a minimum wage guy. But he did it to the right one. Because if he'd called on Shea like that, me and BA'd have had a problem. We'd have had a problem. Yep. I don't want to hear nothing about the guy shouldn't put himself in that situation. I don't care what situation I put myself in. Don't you put your hands on me in that manner, or we're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem with most guys if you do that, Skip. And it was like he shivered the guy side the head. It wasn't like, hey, Anthony, bro, you going to give us a penalty? Come on, get out of there. It wasn't that. It was like, no, Skip. That could have been me, Skip, because I just know how I was raised up. Because my grandfather said you hit somebody side the head. He would always tell my brother and I, he wouldn't let us hit each other side the head, wouldn't let us thump us side the head. He said, you make the boy thick-headed, he won't learn anything. Skip, I'm going to turn it over to you. Yep. I was about 6 years old, and I was on the front porch with my grandfather's brother, his uncle, my uncle. And my grandfather was in his bedroom, but his bedroom was right outside. And my uncle kept thumping me on the head, and I kept hollering, ouch, ouch. And I said, Uncle Oliver, stop thumping me on the head. My grandfather got up. You don't believe me? Ask my brother. He said, if you thump that boy one more time side his head, say, I told you, you'll make a child thick-headed, he won't learn. If you thump him one more time, I'm going to kill you. My uncle got up, drove off, and we never saw him again. So that stuck with me. My grandfather said, don't hit somebody side their head. My own kids, I never thumped them. I never hit them side their head. I never do that to anybody because that's resonated with me. BA would have had a problem with Shannon Sharpe had he done that to me, Skip. I'm telling you, I would have punched BA because you can't do that. I thought it was disrespectful, the manner in which he did it. He didn't just like when Carlton Davis took his helmet off, Todd Bowles put his arms around him, say, son, that was a great play. But you got to understand, you cost us 15 yards. Under a different scenario, that might have been detrimental to us. Don't do that. There's a way you can handle that. And then BA, what is he, Skip? What is he appealing? We saw it on camera. You hit the guy side the head. What are you saying? Oh, he's a player of mine. I can hit him side the head? Nah, BA, you wrong with this one. I like BA, the coach. I like BA. I like his matter of factness. But you can't do that. You stepped over the line.
And to your point, Shannon, if BA had dared to try that to Sue or Vita Vea or Devin White or Levante David, good luck. Or to Leonard Fournette or Mike Evans, Tristan Wirfs, you wouldn't get away with it. But no, Andrew Adams, once upon a time, undrafted free agent. He's now 29 years of age. He's bounced around. This is his third trip to Tampa, third time around with Tampa. He was a Giant. He was an Eagle. He was a Lion. So he's bounced around. He once set the Tampa interception record in 2018. He had 3 in a game. So Bruce knows him, and I guess Bruce knows him and has enough relationship with him that he thought he could get away with that. But here's my question back to you that surprised me about this. I had never heard of a coach being fined. I was great with it. It was well-deserved because it was such a bad look. And by the way, we were on the eve of Martin Luther King Day, and you got a white coach going onto the field to slap a black player upside the head. Just a terrible look for the National Football League.
Yes, I think that's why I believe that's why the NFL intervened like they did because it was so egregious of a look.
It was. Yet it's the first time I can remember a coach getting fined for the way he was coaching his football team. So I ask you, let's just say for the sake of discussion that Andrew Adams had gone to the bench and BA had followed him over to the bench and slapped him upside the head just as he criticized him. You know, he scolded him for trying to pull somebody off a pile after they had made a big play. Would he have gotten away with it over on the bench? Was it far more egregious because he actually went across the line onto the football field?
Well, first of all, Skip, I think if the player had gotten off the field and gotten to the sideline, I don't think BA would have done that. I just think in the heat of the moment, he lets his emotions spill over and he didn't contain himself. I think if the player does that, BA has ample time to calm down. That was a heat of the moment hit. I'm not excusing it, but I'm telling you what's transpiring through BA's mind. He sees one of his guys trying to pull guys off the pile. We've seen officials throw flags because that's not your responsibility. That is our responsibility to untangle the pile. So we don't need your help. And so BA walks onto the field because he thinks his guy's about to get a penalty, and he punches him upside the head. Now, I don't believe BA would have done that, Skip, if he had time to think about it. That was a heat of the moment hit. Yeah. But a heat of the moment hit get your butt whipped.
I would say. So we both agreed the other day on Monday that we were coached that way coming up. The old school way was that way. I was coached that way in baseball and basketball, where coaches were hands-on and handsy, slapping, pushing, shaking shoulders. And yet it's not the way of the world in 2022. And yet Bruce obviously has a solid reputation. In fact, most people consider him a player's coach. And I've never heard a player speak out against the way they were coached by Bruce Arians. So this was shocking to me. And I don't think he does that regularly behind the scenes in practice. I don't think. But you want to talk about digging in?
That is something
I agree.
Skip, that's not something that you do that's not something you do on the regular and have a job. You can't. That's a grown man. You challenge a grown man will stand up for himself. So for me, Skip, like you said, 1970. Skip, I remember we did something in practice. We couldn't get water. We practiced 2.5, 3 hours, and we couldn't get water. Or they run us until, somebody would literally drop. You can't coach like that. Now, you can't hit the guy in the face. You can't grab the guy by the face mask and shake him. What are you doing, son?
Okay, I got it. But Bruce is doubling down because he's going to appeal, and his response about did he have any regrets, he said, no, I've seen enough dumb. You can't pull guys off a pile. We got a big play, great field position, and he's trying to pull a guy off the pile, and I was trying to knock him off that guy so we didn't get a penalty. Well, that's crazy behavior. That's going completely over the edge and onto the field, and yet he's defending himself at saying, I did exactly the right thing.
Right. And that lets me know my response to him would have been justified because he would have had no regret, no remorse for what he did. I, in turn, have no regret punching him, shoving his you-know-what to the ground, letting him know, I'm not your child. I'm not that guy. I get the point that you're trying to make. You don't want me to get a penalty in this situation, but I'm going to get a penalty for whipping your butt. I don't know if they can throw a flag if I whip my coach's tail. I don't think that's a penalty, Skip. So that's just chalked it up. BA, wrong in this situation. Instead of saying, you know what?
Wrong.
I let my emotions get the best of me. I should not have done that. I should have found another way to get Adams' attention, and I'm sorry. I apologize to him for letting my emotions get the best of me, but for you to double down and to say I knocked it, nah, bruh, you got to miss me with that one. And as a matter of fact, Skip, if that had happened to one of my teammates, I would have had a conversation with the coach as the leader and said, Coach, that's a bad look. You can't do that.
Absolutely.
I get the frustration. I get that you're upset, but I'm going to go talk to him as a man, as a leader on the team, to let him know how that looks. And so sometimes the mere appearance, Skip, is enough to like people that, hold on, BA took this thing back to the 60s, to the 70s, when this was okay. That's it. I have a conversation with him as a leader on the team, say, BA, this was a bad look. I really appreciate it. I think you need to apologize to Adams. You need to apologize to us in front of the team to let us know that, hey, my emotions got the best of me and this wouldn't happen again.
No mercy. Russell Westbrook had another bad game in last night's Lakers loss, finishing with 14 points on 5 of 17 shooting. The point guard was actually pulled from the lineup for the final 4 minutes of action, a move that sources say Frank Vogel had been given the green light by the Lakers organization to do if necessary. However, recent reports say that Vogel's status as head coach is on a game-to-game basis, as the Purple and Gold have dropped 4 of the last 5 games. Shannon, LA fell back to under 500 with a loss. Who deserves the most blame for the Lakers' 22-23 record?
Before I answer that question, AC, think about this, Skip. You're in the ocean, and you're drowning, and the lifeguard that's responsible for saving your life, he can't swim any better than you can. That's Russ. Frank Vogel's coaching career in LA is dependent on Russ. Ball dominant, inefficient, turnover prone, no defense playing. That. And this is that's my lifeline, Skip. That's my lifeline. Skip, look, this is what I know. Never played a dribble in the NBA. But talking to people that have, and talking to people that's put teams together, when you bring people along, your superstars sign off on it. We know James Harden is in Brooklyn because of one reason: Kevin Durant wanted him there. If Kevin Durant says no, James Harden is still in Houston or he's somewhere else. We know Russ is in LA, the purple and gold, for really primarily one reason. LeBron gave his blessing. And Rob Pelinka probably went to AD and said, AD, what do you think about this? You okay? AD's like, well, hey, Bron cool with it. Hey, we going to roll with it. And lo and behold, here we have it. This is what Russ is. Skip, Russ was never a fit. AD and Bron need shooters. Skip, there was a lineup on the court last night. They had Stanley Johnson. If I'm not mistaken, I think I got this right. They had Russ, Stanley Johnson. They had Dwight Howard. The only shooter on the court with them was Avery Bradley. I'm like, what kind of lineup is this? Skip, they brought the wrong guy. They erred on the side of caution. They got seduced by the nice-looking young lady in the neighboring town, and it's like, oh, my goodness, she is wonderful. And then when she moved to your town and you got a chance to see up close and personal all the flaws, you got a chance to see Russ up close and personal and all the flaws that he possessed, then you realize, Skip, it's not going to work. But it's too late, Skip. You're 44 games in. How do you turn this around? So to make a long story short, we know who's responsible. LeBron James and Anthony Davis gave Rob Pelinka their blessings to have Russell Westbrook on the Lakers in the purple and gold playing for the Lakers. That's why he's here. No other reason. Rob Pelinka is not bringing Russell Westbrook on this roster without the blessings of LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
Okay, so I have to correct one thing you said. You got seduced by the nice-looking young lady or middle-aged lady?
Well, she ain't middle-aged. You know,
I don't think you got seduced by young ladies. Well, am I right?
But, no, she had a nice, Skip, she got the nice purse, she got the nice heels, she made up. She looks good from a distance.
Okay.
But you don't live in that town. You didn't play on those teams. When she comes to your town, you see her on a nightly basis. You're like, well, damn.
Okay. Here's my question, and I do not know the answer to this question because it is the question. Did LeBron suggest they go get Russell Westbrook? Did he just co-sign it, or did he push for it? I don't know that because, Shannon,
I don't know that
if
either.
he pushed for it, if it was originally LeBron's idea, we need to go get him. If that's all about LeBron and none about Pelinka or Jeannie Buss, then I have to heap the majority, the biggest portion of blame is on LeBron's plate, because that was the move that undid this whole season, because you cannot overcome Russell Westbrook. Now, I'm going to give you that there's been little to no Anthony Davis. You said even when he has been healthy, he hasn't been there because he hasn't played up to top 10
He's
player
averaging
in the
23
league.
points a game, Skip.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I got it. But I still believe he has the capability of being a top 10 player. So I reserve some judgment that if they can get him, and more important, keep him healthy down the stretch into the playoffs, if in fact they make the playoffs, it would give them at least a chance, a prayer, a little light at the end of the tunnel. I've told you from the start, I like Kendrick Nunn. I thought he was a sweet little pickup. He could be a rotational cog for you, maybe a seventh or eighth man. I don't know what's happened. He's got a bruised knee, that's what they say. Well,
Right.
we're how many games?
He had a setback.
We're 45 games in, and he still hasn't seen the light of play. Yeah, 22
Right.
and 23, and hadn't seen the light of play. So I'm going to give you those. But in the end, LeBron has been different this year because as he plays year 19, we say, well, he's having the greatest year 19 ever. I'll give you that on the offensive end. But he has gone from last year being a defender, a legit defender last year, and the driving force of a team that ranked number one in defensive efficiency. He's given up that, gave up the ghost of defense, and now he ranks 207th in defensive win shares. They have plummeted to middle of the pack in defense, and as you say day after day after day, it's really costing them, because it was shameful that last night a team that was 3-17 on the road, the worst road record in the NBA, came into the crypt, used to be Staples, but came into the crypt and trailed by 15 in the first quarter and roared back to win the game. The first time they've won in Los Angeles, Indiana, in 7 years. They won that game. And again, LeBron got his 30. I showed you a sort of pathetic little layup that he got at the buzzer, still in the game when they're down 9, to get to 30. But to me, LeBron's sole focus has now gone on chasing and catching Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and resting on the defensive end. LeBron will have his chase down blocks occasionally, and he'll have moments of defending. But in general, this team goes as he goes on both ends of the floor. And I'm sorry, they just don't play defense. So if LeBron, acting as GM, if he pushed to go get Carmelo, if he pushed to go sign Trevor Ariza, then that's on him, because you went old, you went familiar. You wanted to have a year with your close friend Carmelo, and I got that. I get it. It's like you want to play with your son. You want to have 1 year with Carmelo. I got it. But it doesn't get your team anywhere, because to your point, he never played defense before, and now he plays even less. Russ never played defense before, and he plays even less. And Trevor Ariza just looks old. I know he's been hurt, but he just looks like an aging player, and they look like an aging team. So obviously, if LeBron was the GM, if he's the unofficial GM, man, what you needed was young legs on defense. Because when you're dealing with the Memphises of the world, Memphis comes in and they just take you all apart because they have young, fresh legs, and you don't. You just look like an old basketball team with a few shooters who get hot occasionally, a Malik Monk or maybe a Wayne Ellington, and it's not enough.
And that's Skip.
Yeah, you got Stanley Johnson on a third 10-day contract. Okay, great. Good luck.
And that's the thing, Skip. You're absolutely right. When you're older, you can put together runs. You can play well for a half or midway through the third quarter.
Yeah.
But those young guys, those 22 and 23, they can play like that for the game in which you can't keep up. And so when you don't play defense, it emboldens them, Skip. They're like, man, we can get what, man, look here. Man, stop shooting jump shots. Skip, they got Indiana, if I'm not mistaken, got 62 points in the paint. They're like, man, why we shooting jumpers when we can get all the way to the hole and lay the ball in the basket? We don't need to be shooting no 15-footers, no three-pointers. We can get all the way to the rack. And that's the thing, Skip. Like you said, I don't know if LeBron said, hey, I need you to go get Russ. I don't know if Rob went to LeBron and said, hey, we have a chance to get Russ. Because it seems to me, Kuz said the deal for Buddy Hield was a foregone conclusion. He was a king.
He did.
And then the next day, they're like, no, you're going to Washington. So I don't, Skip, like I said, even if he did not, this is what we do know, even if he did not say, go get Russ, he gave Rob Pelinka his blessings to go get Russ.
No mercy. Fox Bet Super 6 is bringing back Stack the Cash to give away even more of Terry Bradshaw's money. Scan the QR code, download the Super 6 app, and enter the divisional round contest featuring 49ers Packers for a free chance at the growing jackpot. The more people who enter, the bigger the jackpot gets. Now, Cowboys Nation is still feeling the sting for that disappointing end of their season. That includes NFL lead analyst and Cowboys Hall of Famer Troy Aikman, who told local Dallas radio show, quote, if you don't do anything in the postseason, then you're really at the end of the day no different than the Jacksonville Jaguars or the New York Jets that didn't get in. Shannon, what is your response to what Troy said?
Ooh, that's my teammate. That's my Hall of Fame teammate. Now, that's the Troy Aikman that I know.
Now he is.
That's the one I've been looking for. This guy that's been mesmerized and seduced by, man, this team looks different. This team sure seems different. Me being around them reminds me a lot of the old Super Bowl teams. And he's absolutely right. At the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys got the same luggage that the Jets and the Jags and a lot of these other teams got, matching hefty bags to clean out those lockers. All you did was practice 1 week longer than the teams that got bounced during the regular season. That's all the Cowboys did. And at the end of the day, Troy hit the nail on the head. Take away the salesmanship of Jerry. Take away the big shiny building and the fandom. What are the Cowboys? Since they last won the Super Bowl, Skip, 22 teams have more playoff wins than the Dallas Cowboys. The Jets have more wins than the Dallas Cowboys. The Jacksonville Jags have more wins than the Dallas Cowboys. Skip, I'm going to give you something right here. Since they last won the Super Bowl, they have 4 playoff wins. Trent Dilfer, Jake Delhomme, Matt Hasselbeck have more playoff wins since the Cowboys last won a Super Bowl than the Dallas Cowboys. They have the same number of wins as Mark Sanchez, Nick Foles, Brad Johnson, and Colin Kaepernick. Oh, yeah, Cap, who hadn't played in 5 years, got the same amount of playoff wins as the Dallas Cowboys since 1996. Troy is absolutely right. Jerry has done a great job of selling the Cowboys. But you know what you should do, Skip? Because guess what? We just talked about it on Monday. 41.5 million people watched the Cowboys. Another 41 million people watched them on Thanksgiving. They should take those banners and cover the windows so people can't see just how bad the product is on the field. You're bad. And at some point in time, I know you're stubborn and hard-headed, but you're going to get you a new team. You're going to get tired of losing. Maybe you're not, because you kept me as your partner for 6 years, and I've been beating you down since day one. So you're probably going to stick with it.
That's delusional. So, I think you were throwing a bunch of stats at me about these quarterbacks of won games, but my earpiece is breaking up, and I couldn't hear very well what you were saying, so I'm just going to disregard your last answer. I don't even know what you're talking about. And now it's my turn to answer. You have occasionally made the point about Troy Aikman that because he has to do production meetings with these teams and these staffs, and these players, these coaches, that he has to be careful with what he says, pull a punch here or there. I disagree about Troy. I think he is a dominating commentator because he will say what's on his mind, and he will especially speak his mind when it comes to his Dallas Cowboys. He can be harshly objective on the Cowboys, and I've played the soundbite for you before, and I'm not going to do it again today, but remember that game they lost 2 years, it was 2019 actually, in Chicago on that Thursday night when they stunk it up? Yeah. And after the game, Troy just lambasted them. He just tore into them, and he started at the top with Jerry, and he just said it's unacceptable for this team to perform like that. So I loved what he said on his radio gig in Dallas because he did make the point that this team has still an impressive collection of talent. Well, I've thought that from the start. And yet what he questioned the most was, how do you lead the league in penalties, Mike McCarthy? And he also questioned this team's lack of identity. Who is it? What is it in the end? For a while, you were saying it was morphing into a defensive team, but against the 49ers, it was not a dominating defensive day. They hung in and sort of hung on for dear life, but they were not dominating from kickoff, from opening kickoff, obviously, when they let the 49ers go 75 yards down without even going to third down one time and scoring the 7-0 touchdown. So what Troy is saying is, who are you in the end? Were you an explosive offense? Well, you did lead the league in points scored, but as you point out, some of those points were contributed by the defense. You did lead the league in overall yards gained, but how did that factor into your overall record? It ended up 12-5, but as I keep pointing out, you went 6-1 to start, and then you closed 6-5, including the home playoff loss to the 49ers. So Troy's big picture point is exactly what I believe. Jerry always says Super Bowl or bust. I don't know if he really believes that, but after the game, Jerry said he was surprised and sick over what he had just seen. I believe that's true. That's why I gave it about a 25% chance that he'll go back and lick his wounds and sit back and let it sink in what happened down the stretch as they went 6-5 and they laid those Jurassic Park eggs, obviously against Denver and the Raiders and Arizona and San Francisco. And I believe that Jerry will at least think about firing Mike McCarthy. And Stephen left the door slightly open on his radio show because he didn't laugh at the question and dismiss it as a silly question. He said he's still very confident they're going to bring back McCarthy, but it indicated there's some thought process going on about should we. I'm still confident we'll bring him back, but that they are at least considering the alternative. Well, Troy gave Mike McCarthy a C for the year because he's giving him a good mark for getting to the playoffs. But he said the C is simply because you lost to the 49ers. So if it's Super Bowl or bust, I love the analogy that he made, Shannon, because in the end, that's how I feel. You might as well be the Jets or the Jags because that's who you became. You became the Jets or the Jaguars. Yeah, you won a bad division. I told you that from the start. I thought you made a foolish bet. I gave you the field because I wasn't threatened by the field except for a little bit against the Eagles, but not really in the end. And so we stole the division because it's so stealable. And then, maybe predictably, we fell on our faces, fell on our golden tails against the 49ers. And so Troy is just dismissing it as, get out of my sight. You know, you're the Jets, you're the Jaguars. And I agree with that because in the end, my coach was a disaster, an uninspirational disaster. And to me, when you lead the league in coaching, and you know this, Shannon, I mean, lead the league in penalties, it's coaching. It's all about that's a poorly coached team. Yeah. Yes. High penalties, low coaching. That's what that is. You're just undisciplined. You don't fear the coach. like they used to fear Jimmy Johnson. They were like the least penalized team because they lived in fear of what Hurricane Jimmy would do if they screwed up.
Yeah, because the thing is that Mike used to tell us, if you keep getting the same penalties, what you're telling me is that we need to replace you because clearly you can't do your job without holding, without grabbing, without tackling. So that means you're no longer qualified to be in this position. Skip, I also believe when you said Troy says, what's their identity? Skip, you remember the first 4 weeks of the season, their identity was running the football. Zeke was running the football. Tony Pollard was running the football. And now all of a sudden they morph back, Dak's throwing the football, throwing for a bunch of yards. So he says, what exactly are you? Are you a running team? Are you a play-action team that throw the ball after the run? Are you just spread empty formation, throw the ball all over the field? Or are you a running team? What exactly are you? Because I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
I'm not really sure they know what they are, Skip, because the influx of the line. You can be one thing with Ty Smith. You got to be something different without him. But, Skip, you saw he's not the same Ty Smith. Injuries have robbed him of a lot of his athleticism. There's only so many times you can go in someone's back, you can go in someone's knee before it starts to be diminishing returns. Zach Martin has had a lot of collisions. He's a powerful, high collision guy. That's the only way you can be as an offensive lineman because they hit on every single play. Skip, there is no easy play for them unless it's victory formation and you kneeling down. Pass play is a collision. Run play is a collision. And he's been involved in a lot of those. This offensive line, Skip, they're getting older. They don't have the same mentality that they can dominate you, pound you into submission like they could earlier in Zeke's career. And we know Zeke's not the same guy, Skip. I think finally you're going to come on my side and say, you know what, Shannon, you're right. He's not the same. Now, it's reported that he's been playing with a PCL, a tear in his PCL, which I will commend him. Playing a running back position with a torn ligament is not an easy feat. But it looked like something, Skip, it looked like something. Zeke didn't look the same prior to this injury. Before he put that knee brace on, Skip, he didn't look like the same guy. It's hard. Every single year, you've noted it. He was 108 and 95 and then 89, and it's gone down precipitously since then. You don't have a bounce back after that, Skip. You just don't.
No mercy. Russell Westbrook had another bad shooting night in the Lakers' loss, and the point guard was actually pulled from the lineup for the final 4 minutes of action. Russ skipped the post-game media session, but LeBron addressed the issue. Take a listen.
How was Russ after the game? Is that the sort of thing that bothers him?
Have you followed Russ throughout his career?
Those things you have problems.
Okay. Have you followed Russ throughout this season? Yeah. Would you think that would bother Russ not being in the late game? Okay. There go your answer.
Think you quote me on that?
I mean, yeah, you should quote yourself. Yeah. You guys want to quote us all the time, quote yourself. All right. Thank you. I'm going to the movies with my wife, man. I got to go.
Cheeky. Shannon, what did LeBron's response tell you?
He told us what we already knew, Skip. This is what people don't understand. The greater the person is at something. Skip, I don't care if it's Oprah. I don't care if it's Denzel, Samuel Jackson, Tom Brady, Russell Westbrook. The greater the person is at something, the greater pride that he or she has. So when you take something that they love, or you say, well, this will be better. Let's just say for the sake of an argument, Skip, we got this big old movie project. And Oprah, they say, you know what, Oprah? We think this project would be better if you stand down. How you think she would take it? Tom Brady, you know what, Tom? Tom, we like you, but you know what? In this situation, we're going to run, this is what we're going to do, Skip. We're going to bring a quarterback in and we're going to run the Wildcat. Or we're going to run some variation that's going to take the ball out of your hand. How do you think they're going to respond? Russ is going to respond as a great player that's extremely prideful. He's going to respond in a manner that you think he would respond. And that's what LeBron said. You've covered Russ. You covered Russ this year. How do you think he's going to take it? He's not going to take it well because as individuals, Skip, you think I can be a reason that we can turn this around, not the reason why we can't. In the process of him being benched in the fourth quarter, you're saying our chances greatly increase of us winning this game without you. That hurts. That hurts. I don't know if anybody that's ever been benched or ever had a situation says, you know what, the project will be better without you, Skip. Maybe it was a science project when you was in school and you was in charge, like, you know what? Yeah, let's let Samantha be in charge and not you, Jenny. Nah, that's not going to go over well with Jenny because Jenny like, hold on. Y'all put me in charge and I get the good grades. And you're telling me we got a better chance of getting a better grade if Samantha take the project over? Yeah, she's going to react just like you thought she would. So I am not surprised that Russ didn't take this well. I knew Skip. I was thinking Skip, I was like, I wonder what Russ is going to say. Then I was like, dummy, Russ ain't going to say nothing. Russ going to be up out of there. They not talking to Russ because, Skip, you remember that game a couple of weeks ago when he turned the ball over and he left? You actually think he's going to stick around for a benching? No.
Okay, so before I respond to this question, I'm curious what you thought of LeBron's walk-off line. He's got to take Savannah to a movie. Were they going to go out to a movie? Because it was like midnight. Not sure there was a movie.
Yeah.
Did he mean in their home
must be
theater?
talking about, he's streaming something at home. Ain't no movie. Now, I mean, that is LeBron James. And if he were to call, I'm sure somebody,
maybe
I pick will stay open well past business hours for LeBron James. And that's right down the street from where we live, Skip. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm thinking he mean movie. I got a date with Savannah, and we're going to be streaming something at our home.
Okay, so obviously LeBron wanted no part of this line of questioning because he couldn't win with this line of questioning. But I'm going to ask you a similar type question that he was asking about Russ. Obviously, Shannon Sharpe, you know LeBron. You know what makes him tick. You know, and I know, he has the highest IQ in his sport of basketball. What do you think he goes home and talks about either to Savannah, to Bronny, to any of the kids, to Maverick Carter, to Rich Paul, to Randy? What do you think he says off camera, behind the scenes, behind closed doors, night after night about that no good Russell Westbrook? What do you think he says about the blooper reels that we show on a daily basis of all of his head-scratching, mind-blowing turnovers and missed shots? What do you think he's been saying? Where did this come from? Do you think this is shocking to him? Because I think he's just dumbfounded at how completely out of control Russ has been playing the whole year that he's been back in his hometown of L.A.
I honestly think he thinks it's been a lot more difficult than he thought it would be. And I think he thinks that we're in trouble. I think deep down inside, he knows they're in trouble. And this team that's currently assembled how it is cannot contend for a title. I don't know if it can make the playoffs, let alone the play-in tournament. So for me, I think it's starting to dawn on him. This was a huge undertaking that we embarked upon this year, and it might be more than we can actually handle.
Yeah, because in the end, I believe he goes home, even to Rich or Maverick, and the line has to be something like, would you believe what he did this time? Would you believe that shot? Would you believe that turnover? It's got to be sad to the point of comedy for them behind the scenes to talk about what Russ did tonight. So he's just turning it back to the media. How do you think he's going to react?
Skip, you remember you said LeBron's been drinking a lot of wine lately. It seems like every night he talk about 1 bottle, 2 bottles, 3 bottles. Now you see why.
No mercy. Tom Brady benefited from a questionable roughing the passer call versus the Eagles. He defended himself, saying, I don't feel like I get them as much as people might think that I get them. Shannon, does he have a point?
No, he skipped. First of all, Tom, you do realize they changed the rules for you. Skip, you remember Trent Green got hit the exact same way Tom Brady got hit in 2008. The difference, it was Rodney Harrison in a preseason game, crawled, hit Trent Green in the knee. Nothing happened. Lo and behold, almost a decade later, Bernard Pollard did the exact same thing in the first regular season game. They changed the rule. If you're on the ground, you cannot tackle the quarterback below the waist. You got to get up off the ground and then tackle it. The reason why Tom Brady doesn't get the hit, Skip, is that he gets rid of the ball so quick. How can you get roughing the passer if the ball's already gone by the time the guy gets there? Tom Brady threw the most passes, but Skip, he took the 29th most hits. So, I mean, Tom, so you just want them to give you calls just because you're the quarterback? No. Of course you don't get them but when you hold on to the ball, they're going to get you. Mm-hmm. You do a great job of getting rid of the ball, Skip. As you get older, we don't want to take those hits. They've done a great job of implementing a plan that allows Tom to get rid of the football. So I don't get what he's getting at. But I will show you after you go a play that Tom Brady got just because he was Tom Brady and the guy didn't come close to hitting him like they thought he did. So, but I'm going to let you go ahead. Look at this, Skip. They call roughing the passer on Tom Brady. What's the roughing the Skip? What's the roughing the passer?
He got hit in the face.
No, Skip, no, he didn't. Skip, the man hit the man in the shoulder pass. Stop. Now, see? That's what I'm talking about. That's what everybody's talking about. You see the ball, the man hit the man in the shoulder pad. No. And then you turn around and somebody hit him in the face.
The rule was changed because he was the most valuable player in the game. And I'm talking about TV valuable because nobody wanted to watch the Patriots with Matt Castle at quarterback. They changed the rule to protect the game because the quarterbacks are the game. Not just him, but it starts with him and finishes with him. And yet,
so was Trent Green not a quarterback?
It was before Brady, but he was Trent Green. He wasn't Tom Brady. And this whole idea that Brady has been overprotected is a media myth perpetrated by you, the number one Brady hater out there, because as Tom pointed out in his podcast that he did the other night, he got one roughing call the whole year this year. And yet you say, well, he gets rid of the ball. Well, then don't tell me he's overprotected. He got one that was a little bit cheap on Derek Barnett the other day against Philadelphia, but that's only the second one all year, and that was obviously a playoff game. And the greatest stat is that since 2015, he is the fourth lowest on roughing the passer calls in the league among qualified quarterbacks. So it's complete bogus. It's complete baloney that you perpetrate on the public that he's overprotected by the referees. Getting rid of the ball, that's just good strategy.
How about this, Skip? How about he's overprotected by the players? Because no player wants to be the guy that put the hit on Tom Brady that injures him. You listen to the video, Skip. I watched Darius Leonard punch the ball out, and he's getting ready to celebrate, but he goes to the sideline and says, I have too much respect for Tom Brady to celebrate. Nobody wants to be the guy, Skip, that injures Tom Brady. They don't hit Tom Brady like they hit some of these other quarterbacks. I know that.
Falsehood on your part. I don't know that because I've seen game after game. Remember the game in Chicago last year with Khalil Mack? They beat the snot out of Brady. Remember the game at Carolina this year? They were all over. He took like 15 hits in that game. They don't want to hurt their kid gloving. Baloney they do. They want to knock him out of the game just like they want to knock every quarterback out.
When Khalil Mack did what he did to Tom Brady, what did Tom Brady do? Now, what other quarterback does that? When they get slammed down, they jump up in the quarterback in the D lineman's face. Why did Tom Brady do that? Because he's not used to getting that kind of treatment. That's why he did it. Don't do that, Skip.
He competes. Nope, he competes. He's Psycho Tom, and he is the GOAT, and he is not overprotected.
So Tom Brady's the only one that competes, see?
Punishment everybody does.
No mercy.
Baker Mayfield posted a video to social media after successful shoulder surgery, and the QB said that he is eager to get back to his, quote, true self after a disappointing season. Shannon, what is Baker's true self?
Oh, I believe he'll absolutely get back to his true self. being an average quarterback in the National Football League. That's his true self. I know Skip Bayless and other Baker Mayfield supporters want us to unsee what we saw before he got hurt. An average quarterback, that's what he is. That's what he'll return to being. I have no doubt whatsoever that this shoulder will be repaired to 100%, and he will return back to being 100% average.
I saw Baker's true self his rookie year when he took the league by storm. And I saw his true self QBR last year when, after Odell went down and out the last 11 games, I saw 20 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. I saw a QBR of 91 in a big playoff win at Pittsburgh. I saw his true self at Kansas City in the opener this year before he got hurt. 380 yards passing. I think his true self will actually make yourself look foolish next year when he comes back completely healthy.
You mentioned that too. You mentioned his rookie year in 2018. Your Bible said he was 23rd in QBR. In 2019, he was 19th in QBR. I'll give you the anomaly season last year in which he was 10th in QBR, but he was 27th in QBR this year. I'm not going to let you use the games in which he played well. He was unhurt. But the games that he played bad, he was hurt. That's not going to fly.
In his rookie year, my Bible, Pro Football Focus, said that he had 40 big-time throws. That ranked 3rd in the league in his rookie year in this league. And I'll take that to my Baker Bank.
Yeah, and guess what? They factored those big-time throws in to that 23 QBR. But we got to report in meaningful ball games, when they're trailing in the fourth quarter, Baker has yet to have one of those significant wins. That's what we do know. That's fact. So
welcome back, healthy Baker. Love you, man.
Cleveland Browns, welcome back to being average. Look at Joe Burrow. Got his team in the playoffs in his second year. Lamar Jackson won MVP, second year.
Recovery. That's it for Undisputed. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern. Don't go anywhere because the herd starts right now.
Look forward to watching Average Baker.